Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So, on today's episode, I'm going to be breaking down for you which commander is stronger from the Veloci-Ramp-Tor Precon deck. Yeah, that's a pretty clever name there, Wizards. Well done. So, we are going to be breaking down which of the two commanders you should be playing, or, I guess which one you want to be playing if you're playing the stronger one based off of my own opinion, and your opinion might differ, and that's okay. With all that said, let's jump into it. So first up, let's jump into the face commander from the set with Pantlaza. Yeah, I always like to say Lazy Pants, but Pantlaza. Sun favored, a 4/4 dinosaur for 5 mana in Naya. Whenever it or another dinosaur enters the battlefield under your control, you may discover X, where X is this creature's toughness. Do this only once each turn. And discovering, in case you don't know what that is, based off of the brand new mechanic from this set, here you go. Exile card to the top of your library to exile a non-land card with that mana value or less. Cast while paying its mana cost or put in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of the library in a random order. Basically, kind of a different version of Cascade in a way, because again, you can just put in your hand. It can be the same mana value. Again, cast with the mana value or put in your hand. So yeah, basically, you get to get a free cast, or you get something else in your hand, which is lovely. So either free value or card advantage in a way. This is based off of a dinosaur's toughness. And again, so that's pretty specific right there. So yeah, Dinosaur Tribal obviously works well with this. The Veloci-Ramp-Tor deck is Dinosaur Tribal. So obviously that, lends toward it, or any kind of dinosaur build around this. But keep in mind, obviously, this is limited to only once each turn. So there is that limiting factor there, which is definitely needed, or this would be pretty crazy. Just going, yeah, dinosaur, 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 dinosaur. Just keep going again and again and again, kind of like First Sliver-ish. Regardless, this is a pretty powerful effect. Let's talk about some cards that work well with it. Some that are in the deck, actually, and some that are outside of the deck that you might want to add into it, and kind of just how it plays. So moving on, let's talk about, well, Ephemerate. A great card, and one that Wizards needs to reprint just ever so slightly, because I wish it was just under $1 for me to use, but still pretty budget-friendly, $1.07. Instant for a single white mana. Basically blink a creature, and yeah, comes right back. And also you get to recast this because of the rebound, so you get to recast it for free. Blink effects like this one are fantastic with this commander, because keep in mind again, Pantlaza says do this only once each turn. That doesn't mean you can't do it on your opponent's turns. You definitely can. It's just that typically, yeah, when you're getting dinosaurs into play, it's sorcery speed on your turn. That being said, again, blink effects obviously can help with this. So yes, being able to discover again on an opponent's turn, that is huge. Also, free blink effects like a Conjurer's Closet can come into play as well. Artifact for 5 mana at the beginning of your end step. Basically blink a creature. So a free blink effect like this one can ensure that even if you don't play a dinosaur on your turn, well, you do get to take advantage of that. And of course, you get to take advantage of any dinosaurs with ETBs as well that can pair really well. So let's talk about some dinosaurs that you might want to consider for this kind of a commander. First up, Ancient Imperiosaur, 6/6 dinosaur with Convoke that costs 7 mana, Trample Ward 2, and on top of that, and most importantly, enters the battlefield 2 counters on it for each creature that convoked it. So essentially, this can become quite massive, and it can be kind of a free spell in a way, or at least a heavily reduced cost spell. But yeah, the more creatures you tap, the larger this creature is going to be, and the larger that toughness is going to be for that Discover trigger. So make sure you're keeping that in mind. Of course, there's also just other massive dinosaurs out there like Galta, Primal Hunger. 12/12 Elder Dinosaur for 12 mana, but you're never going to be paying that. Costs X less to cast for the total power creature you control. Trample. Yeah, this is just a massive dinosaur that pretty much is almost always going to, in a dinosaur tribal deck, cost you like basically 2. So yeah, having 12 toughness that Discover 12 is pretty fantastic, helping you hit something absolutely massive. I mean, typically your deck's probably not going to have anything above 12 mana, so there you go. Next up, Atali Primal Conqueror. Like I mentioned, ETBs can definitely come into play with this kind of a commander. 7/7 Elder Dinosaur Trample that costs 7 mana. Enters the battlefield. Each player exiles a card from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. You may cast any number of spells from among non-land cards exiled by a penalty mana cost. Basically, you get free spells off the top of your opponent's libraries, and that's a fantastically powerful ETB. And again, one, you're going to be like, I've got Conjurer's Claws in play. I've got Ephemerate. Let's make sure that we're doing this again and again and again. Yeah, you might have another dinosaur in play that maybe has more power, or toughness, I should say, than 7. But still, getting that extra value can be fantastic, and 7 isn't nothing. On top of that, you have other ways maybe you can take advantage of, these dinosaurs coming into play, like Verdant Sun's Avatar, 5/5 dinosaur avatar that costs 7 mana. Whenever another creature is battlefield under control, gain life equal to that creature's toughness. So on top of that, you are also, discovering, and now you are also gaining life, being able to kind of double up on your benefits. And also, again, if you're actually blinking like an Atali, even more benefits. So a single creature entering the battlefield can have threefold, fourfold effect, essentially, and really help you out. Obviously, Panharmonicon type effects can work very well. Any of those new cards that double up as well, make sure you're keeping those in mind too. That being said, when it comes to getting dinosaurs on opponents' turns, maybe something like the Skullspore Nexus, which helps out in many ways. 6 green, but again, you're never going to be paying that. X lets cast for X the greatest power creature you control. So typically, again, with a dinosaur tribal deck, you can cast this for just 2 mana. Whenever one or more non-token creatures control die, you get a green fungus dinosaur. Keep in mind, dinosaur. Creature token base power types, each equal the power of those creatures. Total power, so again, all of them combined. Pay 2 tap, double target creature's power until end turn. So this can also help, obviously, with, doubling the power and hitting your opponents for an absurd amount. But of course, if a dinosaur is like taken out on an opponent's turn, keep that in mind, or a multiple. You get a dinosaur fungus, which of course could trigger your commander, so keep that in mind. So on top of blinking, there's another way to do that. And of course, on top of blinking, if you have the budget for it, the Veloci-Ramp-Tor. Yeah, you've got plenty of ways to ramp. You are in green, so being able to give yourself, basically flash for any one of your cards, instant speed for any one of your cards is huge. And when you're able to cast dinosaurs on opponent's turns, of course, you can meet that commander's requirement on your opponent's turns as well, and be able to activate that and be able to get those fantastic triggers to discover a ton. But now let's move on to the other new commander from this Precon with Wayta, Trainer Prodigy, a 1/5 human warrior in Naya that has haste. Pay 2 and a green, tap target creature you control fights another target creature. It's going to cost 2 to activate if it targets both of your creatures, though. That's nice. If a creature you control being dealt damage causes a trigger to build a permanent control trigger, the ability triggers this whole time. So we've seen a lot of kind of like Panharmonicon type commanders, and all of them tend to be pretty powerful, just doubling up on any kind of a trigger. This is a brand new one that's like double up on a being dealt damage trigger, like an enraged trigger typically. So yes, being able to double up on that is a very, very powerful thing. And of course, a commander that can essentially initiate that very easily, again, for either 3 mana if you're maybe taking out an opponent's creature while also doing that. That's lovely. But also, it only costs a single green mana if you're targeting 2 of your creatures. Again, if you've got 2 creatures that maybe have Enrage, you can double up on that. So make sure you're keeping that in mind. Overall, a pretty powerful effect. Let's talk about some cards that work well with it. I guess I should mention first, indestructible cards. Being able to give your creatures indestructible is huge, and of course, those can be fantastic. Give access to those, you are in white, so keep that in mind. But just when it comes to dinosaurs as well, some that enter the deck, and some that are also just, good to utilize with this one, Ranging Raptors. 2/3 dinosaur for 3 mana in Rage. Whenever it's dealt damage, you may search your life for a basic land from the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Very simple, very effective. Again, in an Enraged style deck, you're going to have plenty of ways to initiate those triggers. We'll talk about some here in a little bit, but now getting a double effect on that, and again, being able to just have this fight when you need to, that is huge. Being able to ramp further and further and further, faster and faster and faster, and getting those giant dinosaurs into play quite quickly, that can be quite good. Moving on, Ripjaw Raptor, a 4/5 dinosaur for 4 mana in Rage. When it's dealt damage, draw a card. That is a lot of card advantage. Again, normally, this is just 1 per damage, and again, that can be a lot once you're set up properly, but now this is 2 per damage dealt, not per damage dealt, I should say per instance of damage dealt. That is massive. That's an absurd amount of card advantage. Moving on, Trapjaw Tyrant, a 5/5 dinosaur for 5 mana in Rage. Whenever it's dealt damage, exile target creature opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. That's huge. Being able to just wipe out your opponent's armies. This is really hard for your opponents to swing into or even block, and again, now it's just 2 creatures for the price of 1, so you can kind of just get like a 3-for-1 if you are activating your commander, having this fight another creature that opponent controls, and saying, okay, I just took out that creature because it's small, and also those 2 other creatures are exiled until this leaves. So this can be absolutely fantastic for you. A huge removal spell. Speaking of removal, though, the most brutal, and the first one that came to my mind when I saw this commander, Silverclad Ferocidons. This is game over for your opponents if you get this into play. An 8/5 dinosaur that costs 7 mana in Rage. Whenever it's dealt damage, each opponent sacrifices a permanent. That is huge. That is brutal. That is nasty. Being able to double up on this trigger is absurd. Your opponents will have no permanence and absolutely no time if you are set up properly. So, pretty crazy. And, of course, crazy Polyraptor. 5/5 dinosaur for 8 mana. Whenever it's dealt damage, create tokens copy of it. This is already an insane card, one that can go infinite quite easily with a few things, but now, hey, let's just make an absurd amount of copies with this. Again, every single time it doubles essentially, right? Again, that rage trigger just doubles. So yeah, you get a ping on this, all of a sudden you get 2, and then you ping those, and then you get more and more and more. Absolutely absurd. Again, already an absurd card. If you get a War Storm Surge in there, something like that, yeah, that is infinite. That is going to be game over for your opponents. But again, something that kind of like, not elevates, I should say, this commander, but kind of opens things up with this commander is it doesn't have to be dinosaurs. And yes, there's a lot of dinosaurs that are fantastic and have Enrage, but also like a Hornet Nest. This is a card that can be pretty fantastic in an Enrage style deck. A 0/2 insect with defender that says whenever it's dealt damage, create that many 1/1 green insect creature tokens with flying and death touch. Being able to double that up is huge, is massive. And again, there's ways to really take advantage of this. Let's say you've got your creatures, indestructible on that turn, or maybe you got something permanently in play, like an Eldrazi Monument that gives them indestructible. And then you cast like a Blasphemous Act. Yeah, being able to just say, oh, cool, all right, 13 damage times 2. 26 tokens, right? Essentially, because your commander's trigger is going to double that. Also, Brash Taunter. Yeah, any of these kind of stuffy doll type creatures that are like, yeah, hit me. This is fantastic. A 1/1 when it's indestructible as well. Whenever it's dealt damage, deals that much damage to target opponent. Absolutely absurd. Again, works incredibly well with those Blasphemous Act type cards. Yeah, there's a lot of damage to be dealt. And again, when that's doubled, your opponents will not last long at all. Again, when it comes to like combinations and just synergies, Marauding Raptor's fantastic with this. A 2/3 dinosaur. Creature spells you cast cost wants to cast. Again, you're going to have a lot of fantastic creatures in this deck. Reducing the cost can be huge. Whenever a creature enters battlefield under control, Marauding Raptor deals 2 damage to it. If a dinosaur dealt damage this way, Marauding Raptor gets +2/+0. That's nice. Most importantly, though, again, is that like free initial damage on your creatures, which is fantastic. And yeah, getting that free additional damage just is free, essentially, Enrage effects. Be careful with this one, obviously, because it depends on like the toughness of your creatures. And certain creatures like the Hornet's Nest, it's not indestructible, get taken out right away. So make sure you're keeping that in mind. That being said, a repeatable source of damage like a Pyrohemia is absurd with a commander like this, kind of like a Golden Pig in the deck potentially. Get if your end step, no creatures on the battlefield, sacrifice it, but most importantly, pay a red, 1 damage to each creature and each player. This is just Enrage again and again and again. And essentially, again, with this commander, it is pay 1 red mana to get every single one of your Enrage type triggers twice, which is just crazy once you're set up properly. I mean, picture this with Silverclad Ferocidons. Again, that is game over. You activate this 4 times, and you get to keep your Silverclad Ferocidon in play, even though it's indestructible potentially. And that is 8 permanents your opponents each have to sacrifice. That is game over. They are done. So yeah, the potential for this commander is pretty high, especially when it comes to, the Panharmonicon types. And this is, yeah, it's going to see more and more and more new cards essentially over the years. They're like, yeah, combat damage trigger, not combat damage trigger, self-damage trigger, whatever it is essentially. But yeah, some crazy potential for something like this and some brutal potential too. So now it is time for me to give you my verdict at the end of this episode. And yeah, after kind of weighing things again, yes, I mean, Dinosaur Tribal is very well supported. There's a lot of great dinosaurs out there. Discover can give you a lot of value. Again, if you can take advantage of that with things like Blink, maybe some ways to flash, some dinosaurs in essentially, or ways to make dinosaur tokens essentially on opponents' turns as well. The value can be a bit random, though. You also have ways to maybe tutor things on top of your library as well. So yes, Pantlaza is definitely a powerful commander. That being said, I think I'm actually going to lean toward Wayta. Now, again, this is a verdict that is not just like, hey, if you swap the commanders out, essentially, and just stick with the exact deck for Veloci-Ramp-Tor, then that's going to be, the better of the 2 commanders. The face commander tends to, I should say, synergize better with the cards in the deck. That being said, with some minor tweaks, you probably can make a more powerful deck, in my opinion, out of Wayta, Trainer Prodigy. Because, yeah, I mean, the power of Enrage is being wholly harnessed with this commander. It is a removal spell for your opponents, essentially, a repeatable removal spell, essentially. And it also is one that says, you know what, again, if I get some Enrage creatures in play, I can have them fight each other. If I've got some ways to make them indestructible, it can be even better. I've got some ways to double that up. I've got some absurd value, some absurd effects, some brutal effects, again, like Pyrohemia, Silverclad Ferocidons, game over, some combo potential with Polyraptor. Yeah, I think I'm actually going to lean toward Wayta, but that's just my opinion. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts are. Which of these 2 Precon commanders in Veloci-Ramp-Tor would you lean towards? Which one do you think is more powerful and why? So yeah, let me know in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.